Hello, everybody. A little bit late, but we're here together. The leadership group talking about what's going on every day during this week at your school, our school. Josh Toad, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy, here with Dean, Demetrius, Martin, Jeff, soon Chris. He's out refereeing somewhere, but he's going to join us, and we're here to discuss what's going on in our schools because you know what? We always need a time out during the game known as school leadership, right before we go into the red zone and score that touchdown. So we've had a lot of interesting things going on here in Texas. I don't know about you, Demetrius. Tell us how it's going over there in Alabama.
It's been fun. I'm Dean Demetrius Scott, Vice Principal, Moody High School, Moody, Alabama. We have had everything this year dealing with COVID, Power School. Monday just dealt with a bomb threat in the middle of the day. So we've had quite a bit of fun around here.
Awesome. Well, not about that bomb threat there, Demetrius. I'm sure you got those steps in. What about Martin there in San Antonio? Talk to us. Who are you, Martin? Tell us how your week's gone.
Hey, you guys. I'm Marty Silverman. I'm principal at Salinas Elementary School in beautiful San Antonio, Texas. Happy to be here again with you guys. And this week has been, talk about amusement parks. I can see SeaWorld from my window, and I feel like I live SeaWorld. Sometimes those roller coasters as a school administrator, but happy to be here. Happy to be anywhere.
Awesome. Jeff, Illinois, Fighting Illini, talk to us.
Hey, yeah. Yeah, glad to be here, everybody. Jeff Prickett, principal of McHenry High School, McHenry, Illinois. We're about 15 minutes south of the Wisconsin border, 45 minutes from Chicago. The week so far is, looking forward to an Institute Day tomorrow. Kids get a 4-day weekend. So it's been a week. It's better than first semester, though. Anything is better than first semester anywhere.
Agree, Jeff. And Mr. Referee himself from coaching a tight game, refereeing a tight game. Talk to us, Dean. How was your week so far?
Hey, first of all, it's great. It's great to see all you guys. And you know what, refereeing a tight game, yes, the game started at 7:00 at the fly back here. But I'll tell you what, I would not miss an opportunity to connect with people around the country that do what I do every single day. It's how we get better, Josh, and that's why we stay consistent with what we do. Being a principal definitely isn't easy. And I'll tell you, this week coming up, we're on vacation week. So the week before vacation, what it's always like for kids and staff, we call it controlled triage. And we want to make sure that the kids are learning, that the staff has what they need, but more importantly, that we get through the week and we make it a productive week. So again, my name is Dean Packard, the co-host of Unlock the Middle, and Chris is not with us tonight. He's got a family obligation, but it's great to have all you guys with us. And you know what? Let's get this ball rolling a little bit here. And let's talk about, some big rocks in our world right now. And, we're at the midway point of the year. We're talking about motivating staff, motivating kids. What's that like in your buildings right now, guys? You know what? We always have to check that barometer to see where we're going and how we're getting there. And we look at that leadership compass. So let's talk a little bit about where you guys are all at. And why don't we start with Demetrius?
Sure. I'm in Alabama, right outside of Birmingham, about 30 minutes out in the St. Clair County School District. Speaking about motivating staff, I will say our city just passed a historic ad valorem tax where we have about maybe 12 zones or fewer in our county, 19 schools. And now we are going to be building a brand new high school. Our elementary, middle, and junior high schools are going to be getting a lot of renovations. But outside of that excitement, our educators are overwhelmed. They're stressed. They're just done. I think this year, trying to get back to a sense of normalcy has been a little bit tougher than when we dealt with COVID head on.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. And I bet that's a synonymous statement with anywhere around the country right now. Jeff, kick it down to you.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Again, Jeff Prickett, principal of McHenry High School here in Illinois, Northern Illinois. And we are, we're just, this year in particular has been unique for us in that we are a 2 high school district that shifted to a 1 high school district. So we're 1 high school, but 2 campuses. So we have a freshman campus and a 10th through 12th grade center. I'm the principal of both of them. So they're about 5 minutes apart. I travel back and forth throughout the week from each campus. I have an associate principal and a dean who run the day-to-day operations at the freshman campus. They're so solid that I don't even need to worry about them, but I get over there about once a week and spend the whole day over there with the freshmen. And then we have about 1,700 kids at the upper campus, about 600 freshmen, so about 2,400 kids total in the district, or so roughly, on average. So not only did we do that this year, we built a new $10 million expansion onto the upper campus. It's a beautiful science, tech, and industry center. Added a 4th floor. This started a few years ago. We just opened it during the pandemic. And we also went from about 4 blended courses to 52 blended courses. And so that was different. All the things that they tell you not to do when you come back from the pandemic, we did it all. And felt the brunt force of a lot of it. But our people are resilient, as you know. All your educators and kids, and so we'll be all right. So that's what's going on. A whole lot.
That is a whole lot, Martin.
I mean, Jeff, I don't even know if I'm still awake after hearing all of that, man. That was a lot going on. I'm at an elementary school, and so I live in the best and the worst of the worlds, because we have, brightness and light and love and all of that every day. And also we are running very lean. We are still working with short staff, still a few, the remnants of COVID. We had a big hit about a month ago and up until about 2 weeks ago. And so, with one principal, one AP, one counselor for 730 kids, when they're out, they are, you're picking up a whole lot of stuff to do. Luckily, knock wood, I have not had that issue. And but man, that part's been difficult, trying to find subs, just like y'all, trying to find subs and trying to find people to cover duties and whatever. But I will tell you this, it is beautiful to be in an elementary school where there is literally love and light and happiness almost every day.
That's good stuff. Josh.
I just one of the principals that I worked for a couple of years ago always said, be leery of spring break, because that's when all the nonsense begins. That's when everybody who felt a little bit like I'm going to ignore him or her becomes a clashing thing at the kid level and at the adult level. Right before spring break, that's when nerves started getting a little bit frazzled. People's little tunnel vision started clashing with somebody else's tunnel vision, because it's the dynamics of the houses that we live in, and it happens, and it becomes more prominent in a little school, Martin. You know that, as compared to a big school of 2,000 kids, Jeff. At least you don't get to see some people like in 3 weeks because it's so big. It's been one of those things even now, and that was before COVID. Now during COVID, it's a bigger challenge for people that sit in our chairs to make sure that you maintain that proper climate and culture, because the culture should help out with the climate if you have established it correctly. I love what Jimmy Casa says. All Corona did was it really reveal what kind of leadership you were holding in the chair that you're sitting in. It unmasked it, if it was really valid or not. And so I just know that being in the business, not as long as Martin, I know that I'm a little baby in diaper.
Greenhorn.
Yeah, we're like little chicks according to Martin. But
That's right.
it's always been one of those things that and just everybody, this was an old episode, and he said that we were little kids, all right, compared to him. I'm not
That's
I'm
a
not
28
making
years
fun
of experience.
right. I'm not making fun of him. It's just one of those things that I've always learned to try to be a little bit more hands-offish during this period right before spring break, and more positive in the exchanges, because of the nature of our business being locked in the same hallways. The body of the campus always creates a certain positive and negative climate regardless of. So us as people that sit in our chairs, it's crucial that we're aware of the tone that's going on and always do that pulse check. See what you need to add, hands-on, remove away. So if you're a future administrator or current administrator, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about.
You know, speaking of that, one of the things that I've been charged with lately, myself and Chris Starcheski, the other host of the show, you know, we have to forecast out next year and look at our evolution, what school's going to look like coming out of the pandemic. And I don't know about you guys, but fiscally, we're in a crunch. There's not a lot of money out there to support what we're trying to do. And with that being said, you know, you're trying to shift mindsets. You're trying to get your educators to look at mastery and what does that look like in a classroom, and look at, you know, expanding upon, you know, student engagement, and really trying to find programs that are going to help kids become, you know, really enjoy school and maximize their time there. You know, doing it all the same time while not knowing what the overall funding will be. We're having an idea. I'm not saying not knowing, but with less. And we have a motto where we do more with less every single year. And our towns are really good towns, and I get it, and they're strapped, but I start thinking about what is the future of learning and how are we going to get to where we need to be? Because that's what good leaders do. They start planting seeds. Now, within your seats where you're at right now, when you start forecasting out for next year coming out of your pandemic, where do you guys see as like essentials? What do you need to do in your schools that are going to make your schools a better place for teachers, for students, and the community in which it serves? And why don't we start off with Martin?
You know, that's a great question. And that's definitely something that we're dealing with right now. And a lot of it for us is because our kids are little. They have lived, some of them, most of their lives in a pandemic. My kids start, you know, at school start at age 3. I have 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds who have really, their conscious life has been all in this pandemic. And so we are consciously working on trying to provide experiences for kids that they have not had before. So you know, where kids used to get out and about in the community, they don't anymore. They haven't been able to, and so we're having to provide, you know, explicit, almost instruction in being out in the community and seeing what's available and providing experiences for kids so that they can, you know, have something to hang on to when we're trying to do the academics. A perfect example, you guys will love this. This is something you probably don't get to do, but on Monday we have, you know, it's rodeo time here in San Antonio. We have some horses coming to school to mess around with the kids and let the kids mess around with these horses and let them get an idea of what that's all about and what horses are and what they look like. And so just one of the experiences that they can then have in their, you know, in their mind, some schema, so that they can build on that, so that their academics can start to grow again, because they've been closed in and they really need to, besides all the social, the emotional, you know, all of that, they need experiences in the community. And that's where our efforts are going right now.
And that's supported within your community, and that's what your community wants for their kids, correct?
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, great stuff. Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for us to always consider, you know, for like right now, what next year is going to look like. You know, you mentioned coming out of the pandemic. I can't help but think, and I wonder how many of us do, like, wonder, are we coming out of the pandemic? You know, we keep going back in heavy, and then we keep coming back out, and it's masks, and then it's no masks. And so I think regardless, right now for us at the high school, anyone at the high school level knows that right now you're starting to think about staffing and master scheduling already for next year, right? I mean, Demetrius nodding big heads over there. You know that this is the time right now. And so it's just really keeping people focused on teaching and learning. You know, no matter what, all the other nonsense is going on, you know, keep people focused on teaching and learning, keep people excited about teaching and learning. How are we doing that, right? And keeping people focused on, like, the great course offerings. You know, I speak from my seat right now at the high school level. Keep people focused on the great course offerings that we have for kids. Get them excited about it. Get them pumped up about it. Have plan A and plan B ready in case we have to, you know, we can't do pep rallies right now. So what else can we do to keep kids motivated and excited and get that culture and community feel? So I think it's just keeping people focused on teaching and learning. And as we go into next year, how can we keep the momentum going as we head into summer, not knowing what the end of the year looks like. Right now, we got plans for prom. We got plans for graduation on the football field. We're trying to do it all, you know, but we always have plan B ready. So yeah, it's just what we're focused on right now. It's exciting though. It's exciting, keeping the momentum and excitement going.
Demetrius.
That's a great question. And to kind of echo Jeff, to be honest, I think some things that kind of help us prepare for next year: consistency, trying to get back to that sense of whatever normalcy was for us. But I will say, out of the areas where you guys are, Alabama was kind of one of the few that kind of stood out. Our district, even in the midst of just hardcore COVID, stayed open. I think probably within one school year, we might have closed down for a total of 3 weeks, no more, if that. And so it was a tough challenge. I know probably a couple of weeks ago, both my boys, 8 and 2 years old, had COVID. And so we were confined here at home. My wife and I felt horrible, but we kept testing negative. And during that week, we had 12 people out, 12 people. And we had just come back off virtual. And so it was rough. But, honestly, there are some things that really concern me now is looking at the entire state of education, because I just honestly feel like, and I'm the youngest one on here, but old school methods, that they made sense. They worked. And I try to do that each and every day. But now, just the new generation that we're in and seeing how the kids evolve, it's a whole different world. Now we're dealing with, like Jeff was saying, master scheduling. We're talking about the ever so fun conversation of teacher units, and that's come up. I think we may be possibly lose two for next year. My high school has 700 kids. And when you look at the responsibility piece, I'm the only assistant principal, vice principal. I deal with some of my job responsibilities, some technology, all discipline, 504, safety facilities, all of that good stuff. And so I think that, in a way, our system, our school has gone back to pretty much full normal, traditional, and we just kind of deal with COVID as it comes. But going back to that culture climate piece, really remembering that the principal controls the culture and the climate of the building, and just really remembering our why and why we're doing this, because I think at the end of the day, that's the only thing that's going to get us through. Because as you guys are seeing all over the country, people are retiring and resigning and leaving the profession like crazy.
Yep.
And it's a scary thought for the future of our kids.
Yeah. Josh?
I just think it's twofold for us here in Garland. I'm very fortunate to have such a great leadership above me that right now what we're doing is an audit of the master schedules right now to see how effective it was. And so what we're going to do is we're going to break away all the high school principals are going to take their master scheduler to a specific place, and we're going to see how those numbers are allotted. Because, well, here goes some fancy talk out there. The singletons make you look like you really don't need those people, but you need to have German 3. You need to have German 4. You need to have French 5. And those people have to combine them together. So sometimes you're like, oh, you have too many teachers. No, I don't have too many teachers. And what about that band person that you share with the middle school, or the orchestra person, because of the numbers? High school people know what I'm talking about, and that's exactly what we're doing right now in regards to addressing the need, just like you were talking about, Jeff, for next year, the personnel issues, and taking and that's going to be transferred down to the lower levels also, to make sure that we help them in regards to creating that allotment. Because in Texas, what we do is the student to teacher ratio, how we allocate those positions, the position controls. For me, the second part is exactly what Todd Whitaker says. It's all about the delivery of instruction. So for me, at the campus level, it has to be with going back to the whole basics of engaging the kids. All right, taking this nonsense away from them, making sure that they are engaged on the purpose, because they've already had enough time of being at home on Netflix with Cheerios. So the thing is, right now we're recovering. We really haven't. Come on, let's be honest. Have we recovered them from that year at home? We haven't recovered them. And some of you right now, if I understand correctly, Michigan is still locked up. Lansing, you're still at home, virtual. I mean, everyone's at different places, and the whole thing is that we need to make sure we go back to the basics. Like Demetrius say, the old school is still about engaging kids, making it fun, making it relevant to them, connecting to the real world, and always going from bell to bell instruction. Bell to bell instruction will always prevent referrals. Making the thing relevant to the kids will always prevent the cell phone from coming out. How many of us do not go to trainings in central office as principals, as assistant principals, and they drone on and they bore us? And we're like, please, earth, swallow me. Take me away. And that whole 3 hours that they bored us was about engaging kids, teaching to us from the 1960s protocols. But we have to be 21st century with apps. So that's the whole thing. Going back to the basics of making sure that we engage everybody. Do you run a PD? Do any of us run PD by just talking to our team members? Heck no, not even. They'll walk out, just like the kids. Oh, I got to take this phone call. So for me, it's always what Todd Whitaker says: is making sure that we engage everybody, bell to bell. Make sure that we make what we're presenting to them relevant, and from the adult level, making sure that our team members know if we're going to meet with a purpose, not just to have a meeting. That creates that whole culture aspect of making sure that we're all rowing in the same direction at the same pace to win the race.
I'm going to come back to this, and I love when we get comments out there. And Amanda, thank you for putting this out there. You don't need money to shift mindsets, and I'll tell you what, it's a very profound statement in education. But what you do need to do, you need to have street credibility. You need to have a roadmap, and you need to have a compass. You need to have a strategic plan that is guiding the whole ship. And all too often, sometimes in public education, we get caught up in unfunded mandates, and we do things in a fly-by-night. And what happens is you begin to lose a little bit of that trust factor when it comes to growth in schools. So, I mean, I love that you put that out there, Amanda. Thank you very much for sharing that. And you're absolutely correct. Now, one of the trainings that I basically went to recently was just about mastery learning and what that means, you know, and how kids can access curriculum. It is all over the place in our schools. Okay. And if you don't have that roadmap set up for successful, you know, educational progression, guess what happens? The gaps become prominent and they become bigger. And by the time they get to high school, you're chasing those gaps. So those deep conversations you have with educators about what mastery looks like, what proficiency of skills need to be obtained at each grade level. And I get excited when I start thinking about organizational roadmaps, because I'll tell you what, good organizations have it in place. Okay, teachers know what way they're rowing, and then you start finding that PD that makes it meaningful for them to grow. And when you're looking at strategic plans, you don't need 18 things that you're working on. You take 3 pillars and you build upon them. Is it curriculum? Is it instruction? Is it assessment with student services on one side and budget on the other? That's all you need. And then you need good, strong people who care about relationships with kids. And all of a sudden, schools take off and they fly. So as we talked about that, how do you shift the mindset in your schools? And I heard this come up, Demetrius, you talked about this traditional way of teaching versus innovative, creative, new way of thinking, because kids engage differently today. What does that look like in your master plans in your schools? And how are you trying to get out in front of that? And why don't we start off with Josh and we'll go around the table.
I will always attest to the following blueprint, which is Sean Kane's Fundamental 5. Which is bottom line, what the purpose for that day is, making sure that we maintain the bell-to-bell instruction with engagement, FSGPT, frequent small purposeful talk, writing in the content area, always recognize and reinforce, and at the end, the last 5 minutes of class, you summarize what you learned that day. The brain loves chunking of knowledge. That's the way, especially the kids that I service, which are kids brand new to the country. They're learning English and they're also learning the teaks of Texas, which is not easy. So it's very crucial that for us that we engage them, we make connected to the real world, we allow them to talk, which helps them enhance their second tongue, their second language. And then at that point, at the end of the lesson, for long-term memories, the dendrites to create long-term memory, we need to summarize what did we learn the last 45 minutes. So for me, I will always be a proponent of that philosophy of making sure that it's structured, focused, and engaging. And I've had that because at the former school that I was at, it went from a D- to a B- in 3 years, close to 9% pointage increase in graduation rate by using that same blueprint. And I'm letting you know that as long as the kids are engaged and they feel connected with you, they will go to the moon.
Martin?
You know, I was just thinking about while you were talking about that, Dean, that we have a different game plan than you guys can have, because if you think about this, I get to play the long game with mine. I have kids for 7 or 8 years typically. If they start at age 3 and they go all the way to 5th, if they start at 4, which is what a lot of them have done, and go to 5th, I have them for a long time. So we get the opportunity to build masterpieces over time, and we're not in a hurry to get that necessarily done. We have time to develop so many of the side skills, what some people would maybe even call soft skills. We have time to do that, and academics. But because our age kids are like fully 100% relationship based, because they want to love us, they want to trust us, they mostly want to be there. We are not fighting the clock, and so our game is a little bit different than you guys, because I know that I have a long game to play.
Jeff?
Yeah, I mean you're right, Marty. You've got the long game. I feel like I've got the short game, or the shorter game, because I mean by the time they get here to us, we've got 4 years left, and they've gone through how many years of schooling and how that looked like, or I mean what that looked like for each student. I don't know. I don't know how they received that education. I don't know how they received their teacher. I don't know what kind of schooling they've been up against. And so for a lot of them, it's been the same way for a long time. And Dean, you mentioned mastery learning, and I think about how do we challenge status quo, right? I think about how do we challenge and push back on teachers, and not just teachers. That's the wrong group of people, but just status quo that says we've been doing this way for this long, and we can't change it because this is the way we've always done.
The comfort zone.
Right. Comfortable. So when I think of mastery learning, I think, well, how are we different today, than we were 20 years ago? And then I go into schools and I look in classrooms and I see kids sitting in rows and teachers,
Yep.
spewing information at the front of the room, and I see us still giving bubble tests for finals, and I'm thinking, why are we still doing some of this stuff? What is the value of a final except to teach kids how to take tests because they need that when they go to college? Well, guess what? I mean, not all of them go to college. It's not appropriate for every kid, for their outcome, whatever they want to do with their lives. So I think that it's really critical for us in these last 4 years that students are going to be in a public institution, perhaps organized public institution, for the last time maybe in their lives. Like, we have to get this right. I feel a lot of urgency around that, and I don't know that everyone feels that urgency. So
What makes it difficult though, coming out of COVID, and right now, as we talked about earlier, people are crispy. People are in a tough place. We're trying to triage, and we're still trying to grow at the same time. And as I start thinking of that progressive plan and what that looks like, you're at a very complicated stage of potential growth here. Okay. As Demetrius said earlier, people are leaving. People are tapping out. People are, they're taking their time and they're going. So it's a slow process, and we have to be mindful of the fact that growth has got to be clear, crisp, and concise if we want it to stick. So
points.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. Demetrius.
Yeah, you guys have said some phenomenal things. I think that the only thing I can add on to that is we have to remember that our kids from 2 years ago or 3 years ago are not the same today. Classroom practices, the kids, they evolve. Educators have got to stay abreast of a lot of the current trends, a lot of the technology, a lot of the curriculum and instruction. I went to a TASRO conference last year in Orange Beach, and it was mind-boggling to me. The tall cop presented, and he was telling all the SROs and the administrators, like, hey, you got all of these things coming in your school, that the vapes and the hoodies, the weed and the gummy bear, all that kind of stuff. So it was really interesting to learn. And I think going back to what Dean said about professional development and really staying up on that. Another thing I'd add with that is we have to really look at the big picture. And one thing that comes to my mind is lesson planning. A lot of times you don't really see too many people nowadays, at least not around here where I'm at, that are focused on lesson planning. And going back to what Josh said, there's no way that you're going to teach bell to bell and keep students engaged if you have not prepared for the lesson. Something that we've been doing now, we just recently, our state did a new math course of study. But one of the problems was two of the courses that we offer in our district, there's not really any textbook company that goes along with that. And now they're working on revising the English language arts course of study, totally redid it. Well, the big problem with that is that the 10th and 11th grade subject, again, there's no textbook in the country that has that, but it's something that we want to adopt. So we've got to plan ahead and continuously think, how am I going to keep these kids engaged? How am I going to teach bell to bell? How is it going to be relevant for them? And if we don't do that proper planning, we're already setting ourselves and our kids up for failure.
And to add to that, Demetrius, I think it's crucial that someone that sits in our chair, your chair, and my chair, is that we know how to provide that support to our classroom facilitators, our team members, because we have to say, hey, go do this, but we need to be able to role model it also. We need to lead from by example, be at the front line. And if if there's a certain specific app or specific pedagogy that we don't know, we bring in the right person to train our team members. It's crucial that right now, Demetrius, because if we tell them go do it, this is a ditto or something like that. It's like them doing that to our kids. So they need to, as someone said, you can't fake the funk, Principal Cafele. You can't fake the funk. You can't tell the people go do this, and you don't know how to present it to them on how to do it, because then they'll get frustrated, and then that whole culture starts changing. The climate turns negative. So somebody that sits in our chair needs to be well versed in the delivery of pedagogy and needs to role model it, either doing PD or when not right now. All of us are substituting. I substituted the last 3 months. And it's showing that, hey, this is what the expectation is. Look at what I'm doing. Come on over and see me and give me some feedback on what I'm doing. Because you've been in the classroom longer than we have as administrators. So that's what really makes us go together as a team. If they know that we're there practicing what we preach.
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to my boys at the Golden Greek who are calling me at the same time I'm doing this. Place that we hang out, my wife and I go. Jason, Billy Bishop, principal at Northbridge High School. He's out there right now, and his friend Danny. Thanks for chiming in, guys. I appreciate the quick text message, but nevertheless, something I wanted to talk about. We go into the red zone right here, the last 2-minute drill of the session. How do you create buy-in? What does that look like? It's very difficult. We're all salesmen in what we do. We're selling from a leadership role. We're selling a product. Our teachers are selling curriculum. Our teachers are selling connectivity. Our community's buying it. From your perspective and where you sit as a leader, how do you create buy-in? Try to give me your best 30-second, 45-second rendition of what that looks like through your lens. Demetrius, why don't you start?
Can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm a huge Auburn fan, War Eagle, but I've got to go to Nick Saban's process here. I'm not an Alabama fan, but I love Coach Saban. You have to establish the process, buy into that process. Administrators have to be seen. You've got to put things in place that are going to set up the stakeholders for success. And once the process is in place and they see the results and you're consistent with it, then it's going to take off like a rocket ship.
Boom, Jeff.
Hey, yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, buy-in now and always has been about collaboration, and it has been about involving your people. Don't put a committee together if the decision's already been made. Allow people to get in from the ground floor, because nothing is worse than someone creating something, handing it to you and saying, make it your own. If it were my own, you would have involved me from the start. Right? So you wanted 30 seconds. That's my go-to right there. Collaboration.
Boom, Martin.
We have to be, aside from the rides and the attractions, we have to be Disney World. We have to be the most magical place on earth. We have to be a place that when kids' feet hit the floor, they want to come. They want to be where we are. They want to be around us, and we have to be the people that they want to come to every day. And that's not done by wearing a clown suit or taping yourself to the wall or skateboarding around the school or all of those things. That's not what does it. That's not what builds it. What builds it is you make school relevant. You make it enjoyable to be there. You have adults in there, for little kids especially, that they respect, that respect them, love them, and then you've got Disney World right there.
Josh.
Street cred, role model expectations. Street cred goes a long way, trust me. From the tenured, seasoned veteran to the novice, we have street cred by role model and expectations. And just like I think it was Jeff or Demetrius who said, by being out there in the morning, being out there in the afternoon, being in the lunchroom, being in the hallways, if they call upon you, you answer it as quick as you can, because sometimes we get caught up with nonsense, with our own noise, and you address it real quick, and that's what will give you street cred, because thank you for helping me. Once you hear that, you know that you got some street cred and you created some credit on that credit card of that team member.
Yeah. And
it's your job to keep on inserting credit on that credit card of all team members, because sometimes you're gonna have to deduct some of that credit.
I got a little bit better from listening to all you guys tonight. I want to thank you all for being with us, and more importantly, for sharing out things that you believe in, that what real leaders need to do each and every single day to be successful. None of us have all the answers, but collectively together, man, we're pretty strong. And this one thing that COVID has taught us is the world is a small place. We can come together like this, share ideas, collaborate, build together, and more importantly, build a network of support that makes everyone better around us. So listen, guys, I really appreciate you being here. Any last second words? Anybody want to say anything at all that we want to get out there? Any bits of advice?
No bit of advice, but I have to tell you, I hope you all know that you are in the presence of greatness here with my friend Jeff Prickett, a writer and a podcaster, Illinois High School Principal of the Year. This is the guy right here.
Come on, Marty. You're too much. Thank you. You didn't have to say that. I appreciate that, though. I feel just like you do, Dean, in the presence of greatness amongst all of you. I appreciate that. Marty, thank you.
Jeff, I know you're very humble. You probably don't want to dig too deeply into this, but why do you do what you do? What's your why behind that? Just a quick rendition. And I don't, we need to go on for a long time, but there's a reason why you do what you do. And for those who are listening out there, what is it?
Man, I do. That's a good one, Dean, but it's real simple. I mean, I do this so that people can be better. I go into every single day wanting to make sure that I touch every single life that I come across, right? That's what I do. That's what you all do. I want to make sure that everybody I come into contact with knows that at least I value them. If they don't hear it today from anybody else, I value you. That's why. That's my why.
And I'll tell you what, that leads to great momentum, and it leads to great journeys. So I love that. Congratulations. And thank you. And thanks for being with us and across the board. On behalf of Demetrius, Martin, Jeff, and our guy, Josh Tovar, we want to thank you for joining us. Sunday night, we'll be back live with another episode of Unlock the Middle. And I'm not going to say who that's going to be yet, but it's going to be a good episode. There's no doubt about that. Hey, for now, end your week strong. Make sure you're loving those kids. And more importantly, stay true to what you believe in, because that's what's going to make you better each and every day. All right, guys, stay on.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great night, everybody. Everybody stay on.